Now on nationwide hunt to find Britain's next star artist continues with this round in Manchester. It's the Big Art Challenge.
It's Madonna, star of screen and stage, heart of gold, an earring to match.
Yes, you can't see the earrings in this one.
Have you found this at a car boot sale?
No, it's mine.
Are you Ronald Arthur Dewhurst?
I am, yeah.
This week, Big Art Challenge brings us to Manchester's Lowry Gallery and a step closer to finding an artist worthy of our £10,000 prize. Of the thousands who entered, only 100 artists have made it to Manchester. Judges Brian Sewell, Wayne Hemingway and Jane Wilson can choose just 10 to go through. Brian quickly discovers a kindred spirit. Painter David Williams.
When I first saw this picture, standing on your easel against the light, I could hardly see it. Shading my eyes, something quite astonishing in the sense of quality emerged. It isn't avant-garde, it doesn't point to a great future, but it is built on a consolidated past.
I've always been struck since a small boy by Van Eyck's Arnolfini marriage, about man and woman betrothed, and the idea of the pictures is sort of very much sort of my version of Adam and Eve.
I knew at once that there was somebody with extraordinary daring who had divided his picture into 3 parts and given the centre to nothing and brought it off. That's what excites me. Never mind your duel between men and women. What excites me is that you can paint nothing well.
David, that's an absolute first. I've never heard Brian enthuse so much about a painting. Are you pleased?
I'm very pleased, very, very pleased, and having seen him many times on television, having read numerous articles, I'm very, very happy.
Unlike Brian, Jane is drawn to 2 more contemporary pieces.
So, Tracy, just looking at this, is it a sculpture or
no,
is it
painting?
It's a painting.
They're paintings, yeah.
And you've called it People in Pods.
Yeah.
And it's based on Park Hill Estate, which is...
It's a Grade 2 listed building in Sheffield. But there's a bit of controversy about it at the moment, where some people want to take it down, some people want to keep it up there. But People in Pods, it just means basically it looks like a beehive structure.
And is it interesting to you, architecture, or is it interesting to you? I mean, how did you decide to use this mattress?
I didn't plan to work with mattresses or a divan or this kind of thing. My work isn't planned to as such. It's what I come across when I find it, yeah.
It's a self-portrait. I wanted to take a portrait that would maybe give some idea of a psychological state without giving too much away, to maybe suggest some kind of narrative but to not actually give an answer.
And where the skin is compressed up against, I guess it's glass, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that actually something you've just put in there, or is that actually something in the
No,
it's
not a shower.
Oh, it's not a shower?
It's not a shower. It's just it's a glass door in effect.
Right. In a way, it's not painting as painting, it's also kind of quite physical. It's almost like sculpture as well. Do you sort of work a lot in terms of installation rather than in terms of seeing it as a hanging
No,
on
I
the wall?
don't. The room and where it's situated isn't important to me.
It really feels like such a kind of aggressive thing, even with just the head turn, but also with the back compressed up like that. Did you just shoot through roll after roll, or was it just something that was a bit trial and error?
It was very much a matter of looking at the shot, looking at what I wanted, the kind of what I wanted in focus before I went there, and got it all set up, and then went and placed myself in it.
Well, first I'd like to congratulate you on the cut of your jib.
Thanks very much.
It's you're a man after my own heart. I assume that's Harry's tweed.
Yeah, he doesn't mind me borrowing it.
Yeah, that's nice, yeah. And I like your Jack Hawkins Cruel Sea jumper. I'd also like to congratulate you on the brevity of the description of your work, which I think is quite important. It's Madonna, star of screen and stage, heart of gold, an earring to match.
Yes, you can't see the earrings in this one.
She didn't sit for you. She didn't sit, and this is not
No, she moves about a lot.
Have you done any other kind of celebrity?
I did Daley Thompson.
Oh, all right. It says Selena Scott. What's going on here?
Well, that was before I called it Madonna.
Have you found this at a car boot sale?
No, it's mine.
Are you Ronald Arthur Dewhurst?
I am, yeah.
And this is Selena Scott?
It started off being Sir Scott, and then it was Bette Lynch, and now it's Madonna.
My first impression on looking at this picture is that it's based on a photograph.
Yeah, I work from photographs, so as the initial start point for the painting.
It has absolutely no variation. There's no touch to it at all. There's no body to the paint.
It is built up in layers. I have to paint the painting about 3 or 4 times before I've finished it.
But it's very thin.
Well, yeah, but that's how it works. Well, I use the photographs like a sketchbook.
A sketchbook, you begin to understand things. If you draw something, you have to analyse what is going on. That is how a drawing gets onto paper. That is the purpose of drawing, one of the purposes. But you cannot use it. You cannot use photography as a substitute for drawing.
Yeah, you can.
But what I'm trying to tell you is that you'd be a better painter if you actually looked at things and drew them instead of depending on a camera.
This could not have worked as a photograph. I've actually taken this a lot further than the original
photograph. This looks to me
photograph.
exactly like the photograph from which it is
How could
derived.
you know that when you've not seen it?
Because it looks like a photograph. It doesn't look like something that has gone through a painter's process. Abandon the camera. So, this is my advice to you. If you want to go anywhere in the art world, abandon the camera. I don't like photography and I don't think it's art. But your photograph seems to me to have something of the painter about it. Tell me why I am attracted by this image.
I should tell you, Brian.
You should tell me, yes, because I don't understand why I'm going against all my instincts and beliefs in proposing that a photograph is a good work of art.
I trained as a sculptor.
Ah.
Had an accident, couldn't do that anymore. Got into digitally manipulated images. This is from a scanned image of a petal. But this one's got strong form, it's got strong colour, it's got neurotic content. All those things, I think, would impress you, Brian.
Well, they pull me towards the image and so reduce my rejection of photography as an art form that I'm prepared to accept that.
Video artist Jane talks to 2 young pretenders, Chris Boyd and Michael Stokes.
So, Chris, we're looking at this piece called Eat Bugs, which you've shot. What did you shoot on?
Just a mini DV camera.
Mini DV camera, and then you've edited this?
Yeah, all I was doing was taking frames out and just made it a time-based animation, which just laid over on top of the footage that I took.
We've got a video here of you using porridge to smear over your body. What's the concept around this?
For me, porridge is like a nostalgic tool to access memories from my childhood.
How does porridge relate to your childhood?
I think it's a commonality. Everyone has a memory of like porridge from when they were younger, and especially with the nursery rhyme as well.
Right.
I just thought it was a metaphor for things that are coming out from my unconscious, things that repressed irritants and things like that, and I've just confronted them with that. They've just cut insects that I got off the internet, these giant Cambodian water beetles.
And this particular piece here, is you creating a baby or...?
Yeah, it's that. It's cradling the porridge and kind of caring for it and then actually eating it.
It's a woman called Mrs. Spinks who came to my door one day in answer to an advertisement for a cleaning lady, and she was so hopeless at her work, or what would have been her work, that I used her as a model. She used to come to Sunday lunch, and then she'd poise herself for a moment and say, "Ooh, chicken," or whatever it was. So this is "Ooh, chicken."
When did you make it?
I made it in 1970. Then, when she was in store, the wasps got into the box, and they ate away all this side of her face. And then when I heard about this competition, I thought, that'll give me a motive, so I entered it. And once I was told that it was to be seen here, I mended her.
So what's the process of getting to that? It looks like rust, it obviously isn't rust, but...
Yeah, it's actually handmade paper. So I go on walks, gather leaves, bark, bracken, and lots of sort of organic, textural things.
In Chorley?
No, in the Lake District. I love the lakes.
Right.
And then I gather leaves and stretch it onto the canvas.
Yeah.
And then I work over the top of it. So this one is particularly quite rusty, but some of my work is with mixed media, sawdust, sand, paint, glass dust.
I'd never have thought that was leaves. Your art's made me feel like I'm qualified to judge this competition, because when we came in here, I was looking at this with all the crew, and they just thought it was like blobs of colour on a light box. And I can see somebody, which is probably a man, driving a car, his right hand on the steering wheel, and so it's probably a reflection of the car lights.
Yeah, and these lines are just a reflection of the street lights on the windscreen.
Yeah. And what's the process of you doing this then?
It was from like just a hand-drawn sketch.
And it's all been done on computer? You've coloured it all on computer?
Yeah. There's pastel in this piece as well, which just creates some of the light, and it's about layering different tones of rust over the top, so it's almost like chemistry to create the tonal qualities.
And have you sold pieces like this before?
Yeah, this one's sold.
Sold?
Yeah.
So I can't make an offer. How much did it sell for?
£2,600.
It's worth it.
Thank you.
Every penny.
Thanks very much.
Have you sold any of these before?
Yeah, a couple, sort of smaller prints.
And how much is that one?
This one here, 10,000.
Oh, I'm not paying 10,000 for it. Because the sound man said you offered it to him for 900 quid.
Well, I said I might sell it for 900 quid.
He told me he was going to buy it, that's why I wanted to get it, and then...
And the cameras are on now, so the price changes.
Coming next...
I did discover your knickers right here.
I think I'm falling in love with Brian Sewell.
I just could leave my smile and disappear.
£100 nervous artists chasing a prize of £10,000. Welcome back to Big Art Challenge.
I wondered, when you can clearly paint an egg with such tenderness and affection and understanding and insight, why you want to, as it were, denature by putting them like that.
Put them actually in rank and file as though it's kind of a specimen case. The picture was very sterile because I wanted it as a pure collection, as though it was looking through kind of basically a Victorian collector's cabinet.
Let me ask you an impertinent question, which is, if you get pushed through to the next round, you have to paint another picture.
Yeah.
And you've already got things in your mind.
I've got hundreds of things in my mind. I don't think I'll ever have enough time in my actual art career, or my life, should I say, to actually paint what's actually stored in there.
We might see a picture which bears almost no relationship, or no relationship at all to this.
No.
You're a painter. I mean, professionally.
A painter and decorator. I am not a professional painter. I don't earn a living at painting.
But you would if you could?
Oh, I would if I could. Tomorrow.
Meet the High Priest of Holybalism. Can he convert Wayne?
So, football covered in the Bible, is it footballers' religion?
Not really. I've decided to embark on a project, and that's to create a brand new religion. So,
have you had any converts yet?
Yeah.
You can buy this Bible from you.
That's right. And then you can do it yourself at home. And those are instructions how to make a holy ball.
Take a smooth football, some PVA glue, pull out the pages and plaster them onto the football.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're ready for exercises and exorcisms.
So how do you do I can imagine how you do an exercise, but how do you do an exorcism?
The exorcisms really is what is any thoughts that can arise from just looking at this or playing around with it. And you can actually, I much prefer to play around with it, just like.
So that's the exercise bit.
That's right.
I've touched the ball. I can put a cap on.
Yeah.
And
looks good in it.
Yeah.
You can buy that for £15.
Yeah, maybe not. But I don't feel I'm not asking any questions other than all I'm thinking is why.
People find church boring and stuff. So for me, instead of going out there and embracing Buddhism or New Age things or anything
You've made up your own thing.
I'm making my own thing. That's why it's called the brand new religion.
The work, unfortunately, doesn't fully exist anymore because it was such a large piece. It's like 2 metres by 3 metres virtually. So I could only bring part of it, which is a shame because it's a feeling of walking through it and things like that.
What was it that you actually constructed?
It was basically about the space that the work actually took up. It was about getting the person to interact with the space that they have. So I took away any identifying features, and the first show that it was in, it was shoved up awkwardly against the wall to emulate the fact that you never get a square room. And then the second time I showed it, it was still adjacent in a room, but you could actually walk fully around the thing, and it was exploring the backs of things, you know, seeing all the workings out, all the drawings that are still on there. Nothing's been taken off, everything's still there.
But what's this? Another photographer that Brian likes.
My first reaction on seeing your photograph, if that's what it is that it's a compilation of various bands which don't quite match.
No, and that's deliberate. There's about 50 photographs there on the work. I like to question the veracity of photography, and some people are persuaded that this is a single photograph.
I hate photography. I mean, I think it's one of those so-called art forms that has invaded an area that it has no business to be in. But I might as well try to understand it. I presume you didn't go to the local theatrical agency and say, I want 50 ugly people to stand on a platform on Sunday afternoon. No, these people love to jive. They just like to go around the stage. I just asked them if they mind being photographed. So they were there. I didn't... In those uniforms?
In those uniforms. As this guy here is part of a historical enactment group, so he was there on this station at War Day.
The world is full of lunatics.
So, Brian, welcome to my love hut.
I hadn't realised it was a love hut.
It is. It's a house of self-love. A lot of the objects have got sentimental value. I mean, they mean nothing to anybody else, but a lot of it is to do with the fact that we surround ourselves in objects of sentimental value and put a lot of value.
You think a detached leg from a doll?
Yes, because I have wonderful memories of that when I was 3 years old.
Pulling it off?
Yes.
I did discover your knickers right here.
Well, that's only for special people.
Well, I'm obviously a special person because I can make your knickers play Roll Out the Barrel. At least I thought I could. There, got it.
You've got to know what to do, you've got to know where to press.
Yes, I know, it's a bit like looking for your clitoris, isn't it? It has an oddly religious quality inside, which is entirely different. It's almost as though you've been burning incense or joss sticks
No, the
or something.
smell has always been with it from the beginning. Everybody has said that it smells like a church, and I really don't know what it is.
It's a miracle.
It's about looking not just at the physical, but the inner as well, and loving yourself and being nice to yourself. You've got to look after yourself. You've got to go home at night, Brian, and have your whiskey and put your feet up. And...
I don't like whiskey.
Well, whatever you have, whatever your tipple is, I'm sure there's something. But you've got to look after yourself and cherish yourself.
I wish I were the Cheshire Cat and could just fade away.
I'm frightening you.
How do I stop you?
I'm frightening you. I've overwhelmed you.
Well, you have, rather, yes.
I felt a natural rapport with him straight away.
Yeah, he's not normally like that.
No. It must be the magic of the hut. And he wouldn't come inside the hut as well, which I thought was interesting. You know, what could possibly happen to him in here?
So far, we've seen some really interesting work in Manchester, and it's going to be difficult to decide who deserves to go on to the next stage. Luckily for us, the judges do that. A tense session starts with each judge picking a favourite piece to go through.
I'm putting forward Tracy Jane Aldman for the piece that she did, which was painted mattresses. Park Hill Paradise.
I love it.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting as well because I think it's good to see something that, in a way, it is painting, but also there's more. In a way, it was more sculptural as well, which I quite liked, and I don't think we've seen much of that. And
she's just got a good eye and a good message. It looks like a bed that's been thrown out.
And all the colour and everything. I mean, formally, it's very in keeping with what the architecture and the buildings were.
I thought it was irredeemably repellent. I thought that it was quite clever to have taken something which has no long life left in it, and she is not remotely interested in permanence, so the fact that the thing is already disintegrating is of no interest to her. She feels she's made her statement, and that's it.
The next one is Will Butter's God's Lonely Man. Now, at first, when I saw this, it's a light box, and you could tell it was done by a graphic artist. I like the fact that it's we haven't chosen anything so far that's been real computer art, purely done by a graphic artist rather than a fine artist. There has been other examples of this in the art that we've seen, but this has been by far the best one.
I suppose what I thought about it as a generated image was it was a little bit cliched, that's all. I suppose I didn't think there was much in terms of beyond reading what it was that kind of kept me.
There probably isn't. There probably isn't, but it would look nice on my wall.
Well, this is rather an anguished moment. This extraordinary photograph, which at first I didn't care much for, but after talking or being talked to by the photographer, began to find some quite serious intellectual enjoyment in dismantling it and putting it together again. As we thought when we were discussing it, it's a series of strips, it's made in layers, and the perspective of the various layers is deliberately disjuncture at every point. He's also a graphic artist. He came to photography out of making prints, and I have a great passion for old-fashioned printmaking.
And these figures, where did he find them or photograph them?
Apparently, people in the Midlands and the North like dressing up in period costume and prancing about on railway stations.
I see this this technique used on a daily basis. This kind of superimposing, cut and pasting using Photoshop or Illustrator onto a photograph. And just about every architectural and design practice in the UK at the moment is graduating towards this way of showing what an area will look like when people live in it. So I'm a bit jaded by it.
After a long debate, they also choose David Williams, Martin Kroslig, Penny Klepuszewska, Susan Morris, Louise Hope, William Jones, and a young artist that particularly impressed, Chris Boyd.
His work's really interesting, I think, we all felt, because he actually had shot it, edited it, and created his own sound with it.
I liked it. I didn't speak to him, but were they real bugs?
The bugs came from Cambodia. That's significant. I have to be frank, I thought it was a very inefficient piece. But talking to him, it seemed that he was full of ideas and bubbling over, and there was a kind of enthusiasm, the energy there, that I thought if we encourage it, something really good might come out of this.
And I have to say, it's the first time that we've all agreed on video.
And probably on TV as well.
Next week...
Go down there and put your head next to that. Go close to that dog there. I thought you were doing yourself as a dog.
Tell me why it's art.
Well, I would like to think that it makes people who look at it think about themselves.
Well, that's got nothing to do with art.
I think it has.
I don't look at the Last Judgment of Michelangelo and think about myself.
A dream vacation that turns into a tropical nightmare. Harrison Ford and Haitian David Schwimmer star in the romantic comedy 6 Days, 7 Nights.